Oh, hey everybody, so Tim Higgins here. So I'm going to do a cool little video that, sorry, let me get close to the mic. I'm going to do a cool little video that, that hopefully will help you all, that kind of helps me. Let's see, so with, what we're going to do is we're going to take a TDM Logs, which is what I pulled down. Now these aren't going to be live, right? But we want to put these into Splunk. So I had a customer ask me about how to do this. So I kind of put this together to kind of help them kind of know how we're going to do it. So I installed Splunk locally. I just got the Enterprise Edition, but I only have it for some amount of time. And I'm not really a Splunk expert. So what we're going to do though is we're going to create a new. The reason I say that is because I'm sure I'm going to screw stuff up that people will be like, "Hey Tim, that's not how you do that." But that's okay. I don't care about that. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new app. We'll call it Insert TDM. Oh, you don't have to have spaces for the TDM Logs. I don't like spaces, but as long as you don't have it here in the file name, you're okay. I'm going to kind of move fast because we're going to do this. There's a couple ways to do this, and we're going to do it by using scripts. So I'm going to show you how to do that. In fact, we'll even write the scripts together. I don't care about the version. I got the logs. Choose. We're good. So just save. That's all I care, right? That's the basic of a project. So give it a few minutes to start. And this is our project right here. So if I go to where this is installed, so it should be installed in C, Programs, maybe in the other one. Give me 1 second. Splunk. Yeah, Splunk. And then we have inside here, give me a second to find it. Inside scripts. Again, I'm not a Splunk expert by all means, but we should be able to find what we've done in here, right? Give me an hour to find it. So it's under EC2. And then we go under, it should be under apps. And then we have one that's called Insert TDM Logs. Okay. So insert TDM Logs. Here we go. So what we do is we want to build a script and we put it inside of our bin directory. Okay. So let's look first. Let's go ahead and start. I use PyCharm. Okay. And I'm a Python guy. So I love Python. I'm not going to talk about Python here. Maybe a little bit, but not a lot. Okay. So this isn't a lesson about Python. So what I'm going to do is say insert TDM Logs. And I'm just going to put this on my desktop. It's not the best place for it. But as you see, I actually have other ones. I have one where I was writing for a customer because you can get better detailed with this. And that's fine. So we'll put that there. And I'm using an older version of Python on purpose. Okay. So just bear with me on that. But we also are creating our project environment, which is kind of cool. So we'll have to do that manually, and we'll just say this window. All right. Now, if you know me, I always start with my Python app with the name app or main. In this case, we're just going to go with app. So I'm okay with that. All right. Now, the few things we're going to need, we're going to start with using regex. Okay, so we're going to import that in. And then we want to start with our OS because we need to read files. And then we're going to do some JSON. So import, if I can spell it, sorry, import JSON. Okay. Now, that's going to bring in our references that we need. So the other thing that I do is I build everything in classes, but I'm not going to do that here because I'm going to keep this stupid simple. But we definitely need maybe a couple methods to get us started. Let's call it diff filter errors. Okay. And we'll just make that blank for now because we'll figure out what we're passing in a few minutes. And so we're doing that. I'll just say pass to keep us from getting an error. So what we need is we need our path. So we'll call it just dir for directory. You can call it whatever you want. But in this case, I think I actually have those. I don't like referencing on the desktop. It just makes it harder. So I usually use this data for everything, right? So I'll create a folder called data, TDM Logs, and logs. So we'll go with this. Let's grab this and we'll post this here. Now this obviously has to be in double brackets. So let's spam and we'll paste that there. And we want escape characters. Well, we want to do double slash just so it doesn't think it's escape characters. Okay. There we go. So that gives us a path to our log files. Now we don't need to put it, well, let's go ahead and put backslash, just be safe. And okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to start wrapping this up. Wrapping this what we want, okay? So let's get rid of our pass and this, let's go ahead and let's create a pattern. And we use R in the beginning of our string that tells us to take it as a raw value. And right now I only want to care about things that are error. Okay, so that's very common with log files. If you don't know, then I apologize, but you should. And we need to escape that last one. There we go. So let's look at this. So we need to escape here and then error. Make sure. Okay. And the other thing I want to create a dictionary. So I'm just going to call this ditch. It's not a good name, but DICT. Just let me know it's a dictionary. Again, when you do this for a customer, you want it more professional. But in this case, we're just kind of knocking it out, right? So I want to make sure I have a match. So I'm going to use regex for this. Now, I love regex, and I love how this kind of filters in for me, so I don't have to worry about that. But that's not what I really want. So we want to pass in a couple of variables. The one thing we want to pass in is probably just a log line for now, okay? And so we want our pattern. Oh, I misspelled pattern, didn't I? Oops. That's what happens when you type in new videos, because I'm trying to do it so fast because I have meetings. But I wanted to get this out there, and we want this to be our log line, okay? So what we want to say, and I'll recap what all this means here soon, but well, let's just do it as we go because it makes it so much easier. So what we're saying is we're going to pass in a line, and then we're going to see if that pattern is inside that line, okay? Easy enough, right? So, and if it is, it's going to give us a match. Now we can print this out. So let's go ahead and throw some prints in there. I guess the other thing I want to do too is we probably won't save it, but just for testing, let's go and pass in a file name. So that way I'll know which file it found, right? So in that case, we're going to print file name. Okay. And then, oops, file name. And then we'll do, you know, a couple of prints. It thinks it knows what I'm doing, but it doesn't. So let's do something quick. So on our match, let's take these out for now. On our match, if it matches, then we want to do something. So we want another pattern here, and you'll see why in a few minutes, because we want to separate these out to actually go in. The funny thing is I use the auto type sometimes, even though if it's not what I want, because number one, it's very good, but number two, sometimes it gets what I truly need. But what we're going to do is we're going to get a pattern based off of spaces. Okay, so I may do a whole video on regex if you don't know what that is, but let's go ahead and separate this. So we'll call this parts equals split, and that's, again, it thinks it knows what we're doing, but it's not exactly there yet. So we want to split on our pattern on the line itself. Okay, and I'll rename this parts because I don't like that name in a few minutes, but it's going to be parts of the string. So that's why it's named that. Now let's do some prints. So print, and I want to see what file we're looking at. So file name. And then what we'll do is we'll do print. The first one's a date, right? So we want to concatenate that. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, we're going to go over here, look at our logs. And if I open up one of these, we'll see this is info, right? Now there's a space after info, so we'd have to put that in consideration. But we do have a date and time, which is good for Splunk, right? So that's a date and a time, but really it's separated by this space. So we have to count for that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to add that together. So we're going to print, and this would be parts. This is an array at this point, so 0. Okay, because it's the beginning, oops. And then it's going to be another one right after it. That actually needs to be after the equals, sorry. Okay. And then there needs to be a comma there. So let's do this. There we go. And then what we're looking at is parts 1. Now the last one is ECT. It tells us the time zone thing. But I don't think I really care about that right now. But let's grab this and let's just paste these down here. So the next one's going to be our type, right? Now in this case, our type is always error because we're looking for error, but we could split on that if we want to. Now type, if we did our count, is what? This is array base, so 0, 1, 2, right? Oh, 3. So that's UTC. I don't care about putting the UTC here, but I do care about this. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3 because it's an array, right? And arrays start with zeros. So let's do that. And then our last one is going to be our message. So what we want with our message is, okay. And then what we're doing here is we're going to actually join this. Let's see. How do we do this? Yeah, join. So we'll start with a space. We'll do join. And this should be parts 4. But it's going to be a little tricky because we want 4 and everything after that, right? So that should be that. Okay, there we go. We got an error. Why do we have an error, Tim? Oh, we got another bracket here. There we go. Okay, so that at least should get us started. And then I always do this so I can track myself, right? So print, and let's just get rid of that. And I always put that. So that way I can see, kind of break it up. You know what I mean? So let's see what that gives us first. So what we're going to do is call this now. So we'll say file name. See, that's pretty good at that point because it knows what I'm doing. And then what I want file name is if it equals logs. That's pretty cool. Like I didn't even tell it that, but it knows that that's kind of what I'm doing. That's part of AI, which is really cool. And that's one of the reasons I like using the JetBrains tools. Now I don't have the AI turned on so you can chat with it and things like that, but it gets pretty good with these little helpers, right? Like on your cell phone when you misspell a word or something. But this time I'm going to do with open. And yeah, that's correct. So I guess, and then for a line, so it knows that. And then here we want to call our errors. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So JetBrains pretty much did everything for us on that. We didn't have to do anything. So that was kind of cool. But basically we get in the file name, we're looping through the directory. I want every file that has a log, and then I just want to pass it to here. Okay. So let's go and see what this looks like. I'll open up a terminal so we can see it. Well, it's okay. It'd be in our debug, not our terminal. But I'm going to run this real quick. And did we get anything? Oh, sorry, it should be my output. So let's do a debug so we can get the output, not the terminal. And get the console. Looks like we did maybe. Let's see if there's a boo-boo up here somewhere. So let's debug it again. Just debug. Okay, so we're going to step into this, or step over it actually. And again, if you don't know how to do this, I apologize. So this is not a match. So let's test it again. Excuse me. I moved the breakpoint, I put it there. Excuse me. Actually, the problem is my log file didn't have any errors. That was the problem. It wasn't the pattern. So I stopped the video for a second, just kind of look at it because I know y'all didn't want to mess with it. But notice this, if I step in now, so there we go. Okay, so now we've got a print line. So this writes out to there. We're good. We've got our parts. We've got our type. And then we've got our message. And this is exactly what we wanted. Okay, so the message is what's going to show up in Splunk. And then we can filter by type if we did other things besides error. And then, of course, our date and time should be our index. Now, we'll talk about that because I really don't know how to do it. But I should expect, yep, there's 2. Okay, so we have a few of them, which is kind of cool. All right, so my boo-boo was not really a boo-boo because the boo-boo was in the log file, not mine. So what we want to do here, though, is we want to write this out to a dictionary. So what we do now? So we splitting on this. We got them separated into. Okay, let's not write anymore here, but we've got them separated out into an arrays. So what we want to do now is fill in our dictionary, and I'm just going to do this, even though it's not correct. Our first one is going to be called date. And again, if you don't know how any of this works, I might do some videos on just doing Python because I'm pretty picky how Python works for me. But what we want to do is for our date, we want to combine those two. So plus, now that was the thing I was going to talk about. I'm not going to set this up right for an index for Splunk. I recommend you doing that, and maybe I'll do another video for that. It's kind of cool at thought time, but it's not time. We want this to be type, and this should be parts 3. And then the last one is going, oh, it's just a little open thing there. And then the last one is going to be message parts 4, and there we go. So this one, though, needs to match what's up here because we need to get from the message all the way to the back, remember? So let's just go ahead and do this here. Don't need that. Need it to here. And let's see what we're doing here. That dot join parts 4. We got an extra bracket there. There we go. So that works. So that's going to load the dictionary for us, and it's going to put one of those in there. Now the last thing I want to do is here's where it gets kind of cool with Splunk. So if the length of the dictionary is greater than 0, which means it has data, right? Then what we do is we want to create us a JSON object. Now I would never call it this. I would never call any of these names. I'm just doing this hopefully so it makes sense to you. So we're going to create a JSON object, and we're going to say it JSON dumps. And what this does, if you don't know, this takes JSON and it takes a dictionary and just creates a JSON out of it. Because at the end of the day, it's really what a JSON file is, right? And then let's just print it so we kind of know what it looks like. And that's fine. Now, the truth is, I think that's all we got to do, because the output is what Splunk takes in, which is kind of cool. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to run this. Again, let's debug it so we can see. And I should expect, I don't care about there, let's just break it down here, jump to it. And now I should maybe expect, I didn't expect these because if it equals 0, I'm sorry, if it doesn't equal 0. Oops, my bad. Okay, there we go. So that should work better. All right. So let's step over, and there we go. So again, if you don't know what a dictionary is, a dictionary in Python is pretty much the same thing as a JSON file, which is kind of cool because now it's going to write each one of those out, and that's going to give us what we want. Okay, so there we go. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so that's our output. One thing I don't want to do though is leave the name. Even though I'm going to go against what I said, I'm going to rename this so we know what it looks like in Splunk. So I'm going to go to Refactor and rename, import TDM Logs. Debugs. How's that work? Debug logs. Okay, and so the other thing I want to do real quick is I just want to do some refactoring here, because I don't like these names. So we're going to rename this one, and we'll call this something like seriously, string splits. I know it's not a good name, but it works. And then this dictionary, we'll call it maybe debug. Let's see, so let's go to Refactor, rename, and I'm doing it this way so you can see it. Normally I would use the shortcut keys. Gotta save this one. There we go. And now let's go ahead and rename this one. So rename, where's Refactor? Refactor, rename, and we'll call this one, so what, maybe debug string. I don't know. Holders. Bad name. Maybe I should just left the name that was there, because none of that's important. Nobody's going to ever see that anyway. But it bugs me when I have bad naming conventions. Let's go ahead and clean this up. Let's get rid of that. And then we're not using this anymore, so let's go ahead and get rid of that as well. We could. You could capture it and maybe add it to your message or something. And I'm not using the system, so let's go ahead and get rid of it. The other thing I like to do too is this should format the file for me. There we go. So now we're nice and clean. So the one thing we want to do, well, first we want to test it again. Let's just debug it, and let's see if we get our JSON. Just go through. Uh-oh. Yep, right here. See, that's why we always want to do that, because there we go. Now let's just save it, and let's just run it. Okay, cool. So we got some JSON messages there, and that's what we want. So let's get rid of this breakpoint. Let's save. Let's go. So there's no other. The most important thing too is I'm not bringing in references that I have to install, right? So I'm keeping it very simple. So let's just go ahead and like these are part of out of the box Python. So let's go get this. Did I do this right? No, wait, sorry. I meant to say open. I was talking, not paying attention. So let's say open in Finder, Explorer. That should have took me there. Oh, I guess it just took me there. Okay. And let's just copy this. And then we'll close that one. And we'll go over here to this other one, if it's still available, right here, right? And we're going to stick that into bin. Paste. Okay, so we're kind of done with all that, right? So if you need help with this Python, let me know. Maybe I'll put it into GitHub, but it's very straightforward. Again, professionally wise, I'd probably add in some error handling, right? Maybe some better naming conventions just because it's going to be there. And I probably wouldn't hard code this. I'd probably find in a way to pick it up somewhere, maybe like reading it from a file or something, right? And I'm thinking about doing some videos on Python because I have some people who are asking questions, and I do a lot of Python. So let's go back to our fun thing here. So now we're going to go back to our apps. Now, again, I am not an expert in Splunk, okay? So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to data inputs. The other thing I thought about too, and I may do this, so there's a lot of ways to do inputs. Now we're doing scripting, but one way is the new, is just using the new portal. Let's see, it's called HEC, right? So here's PowerShell. We're going to use this one in a few seconds. Active Directory, TC. Oh, this is so HEC, so HTTP Event Collector. I may go back and do one for that one because that's pretty cool. You pass through an API. The downside is if you have high security, some customers may not want to do it that way. But what we're going to do, we can go scripts, and we'll give it a second to load. And now my path. So we're going to go to Tim's bin directory. Okay, that's the reason I copied it there. And it sees the file that I uploaded. It's that simple. It really is. You might can go find it, but I don't see that option. So to me, it's just easier to copy it in the bin directory. In seconds, it's fine. We'll run it every 30 seconds just for now. I'll delete that, so not a big deal. But you can change this as a cron job scheduler, right? Run every blah, 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 run every week, run every hour, whenever you want to do it. But I'm just going to do it every 30 seconds, okay? That's every half a minute, right? For those who really don't know how to think. So here, our source type is very important. If you don't know, maybe spend the time to look it up, right? But what we're going to do is structured JSON with no timestamp. Now, you could do JSON and tell it to a default timestamp, and what I would do in version 2 of this is figure out how to reformat that, and I may do that for you because I may have to do that anyway, but reformat that date that's on the log files and make it as your index, and that's what I would do. But in this case, I'm going to say no timestamp. And then here, this is fine. So insert TDM because that's our project. Okay. And then, yeah, that's the name of this little thing I'm running. Okay. So, oh, and if you did have an index, right? So this is where you would go in there and you would set that one and you would fill it out this way. But let's go ahead and review. And I'm okay with this. So I'm going to submit it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and start searching right away. And it's going to put me to my search window. And there we go. Here's our data. So this really brought back, so I can see it's the Python that we wrote, right? And it brought back this data with our timestamp and our message, and our type is error. Now, the cool thing about the type, like if you did all of them, I only have one type, but if I wanted to filter by type, I could. So there's a lot of good stuff that you can just pull in here. Again, the date and time, I think it would be better if you could do your own date time, but you'd have to clean this up, right? I think we'll get our numbers off because we shouldn't be seeing UTC. I might have went too far on that. It should be, oh, I did. It should be 0 and 1. My bad. 0 and 1. Okay, so make sure you fix that. That's where, that's one bad thing about the tool trying to help me. And I apologize, I have a cold, so I sound pretty rough. But the tool is trying to help me here. And it auto-filled that in, and I didn't look at it, right? But we're in array, so 0, 1, 2 is the UTC, so I don't care about that. So I would skip it and do 3 and then 4, and I want 4 to the end, and that's how you do that, okay? But I'm not going to do this again. Just know that that timestamp would look totally different. In fact, I could show you what it would look like over here just to make it stupid simple. So our message here, yeah, so that's what I would expect it to look like is that. Okay, but you'd have to format that, and there's tools in Splunk that help you do that. Format it to match what they expect as your date and time, right? Because this is not valid. You'd want this date and time to be here. And good thing I didn't do that anyway. It would have broke because I was pulling back the wrong data. But you see how easy that is, right? Here's the message. So I can go through here and see the messages that are pulled back. And right now we've got 5, right? So if I refresh, we now have 20 because it's every 30 seconds, you know, and then we have 25. Obviously, I want to turn this off because I'm going to have a buttload before I get done. Anyway, so I hope this was kind of helpful. I thought it was kind of cool. I've been working on this for a little bit. And I thought it was something cool to share with everybody. Most importantly, I now can read through TDM logs, and I can pull all those into Splunk and help me manage whatever the errors and things like that is. So kind of cool. Anyway, hope you all enjoy this, and good luck. And definitely ping me if you have any questions.